1. What is Azure Function? Azure Function is a serverless compute service that lets you run event-driven code without managing infrastructure. You just deploy your code, and Azure handles scaling, patching, and resource provisioning. It supports C#, JavaScript, Python, PowerShell, etc. Common uses include data processing, cron jobs, API backends, and automation tasks. 2. What are the key features of Azure Functions? Serverless model, no need to provision infrastructure. Event-driven, triggered by events, HTTP, timer, blob, queue, etc. Scalable, automatically scales based on load, supports multiple languages, C#, Python, JavaScript, etc. Cost-effective, pay only for execution time. Integrations, works with other Azure services like Event Grid, Service Bus, Cosmos DB. 3. What are the different types of Azure Function plans? There are 3 main hosting plans: consumption plan, scales automatically, charged per execution. Premium plan, pre-warmed instances, supports VNet integration, unlimited execution. Dedicated, app service, plan, runs on fixed VMs, good for always-on apps and heavy usage. 4. What are triggers and bindings in Azure Functions? Trigger, defines how a function is invoked, example, HTTP request, timer, blob creation. Binding, connects your function to other resources for input-output without boilerplate code. Example, read from a queue, write to a database. 5. What is the difference between timer trigger and HTTP trigger? Timer trigger, executes code on a schedule, like cron jobs. Used for automation. HTTP trigger, executes code via HTTP request. Used to build APIs or webhooks. 6. What are durable functions? Durable functions are an extension of Azure Functions used for stateful workflows. They allow you to write long-running, orchestrated processes without managing state manually. Types: orchestrator function, activity function, client function. Use case: order processing, approval workflows. 7. How do you secure an Azure function? Authentication authorization via Azure AD or social logins. Use function keys or JWT tokens. Apply network restrictions, IP filtering or VNet. Use App Service Environment, ASE, for isolated hosting. 8. What are the development tools for Azure Functions? Azure Portal, quick testing or small edits. Visual Studio VS Code, local development with full debugging. Azure CLI PowerShell, deployment and management. 9. What languages are supported by Azure Functions? Azure Functions supports C, JavaScript Node.js, Python, Java, PowerShell, TypeScript, custom handlers for Go, Rust, etc. 10. How does Azure Functions handle scaling? In consumption plan, Azure automatically scales the number of function instances based on the number of incoming events. It can scale down to 0 during idle time to save cost. 11. What is cold start in Azure Functions? Cold start is the delay that occurs when a function app is idle and Azure needs to initialize the app before executing the function. Premium plan or pre-warming helps reduce cold starts. 12. What is a function.jso file? Function.jso is a configuration file that defines triggers, inputs, and outputs of an Azure function. It's used primarily in JavaScript Python functions. 13. Can Azure Functions access environment variables? Yes, environment variables are managed through application settings in the Azure portal or local.settings.jso during local development. 14. What is the max timeout of an Azure function? Consumption plan, 5 minutes, default, can be extended to 10 minutes. Premium dedicated plan, no timeout limit. 15. How do you deploy Azure Functions? You can deploy Azure Functions via Azure portal, Visual Studio VS Code, Azure CLI PowerShell, CI/CD with Azure DevOps or GitHub Actions. 16. How are logs handled in Azure Functions? Azure Functions logs via application insights. You can trace execution, performance, and errors in real time. Use iLogger in code for structured logging.